Hey, what's up? Stephanie, the English coach here from EnglishFullTime.com. In this video, we're gonna talk about something that is pretty controversial. I'm gonna go ahead and give my opinion and my take, my view on this whole subject, and you can do whatever you want, whatever works for you, but it's important. So let's get into it. Okay, so here's the deal. When you meet someone and you introduce yourself, how do you say your name? Because a lot of people say their name in their native language, and this, unfortunately, is very confusing for your listener if you are speaking to somebody who speaks a different language than you do. So first of all, if you are a non-native English speaker and you are introducing yourself to an English speaker and you're introducing yourself in English, the expectation would be that you introduce yourself and your name in an English-speaking type of way, a way that native English speakers will understand. And what a lot of English language learners do is they don't do this. What they do is they say, hi, my name is, and then they say their name in their native tongue, right? And what that does is it makes the native English speaker go, I'm sorry, what was that? Or can you repeat that, please? Or, I'm sorry, how do you say that? It creates a rather awkward situation. And then rather than continuing the conversation and talking about whatever you were going to talk about, you end up explaining your name for the next 5 minutes and where you're from and your family history and all of that stuff, okay? So if you ever get tired of those conversations, chances are part of it happens because you're introducing yourself in a way that is screaming, hi, I'm a foreigner, I'm not from here, and it makes people kind of curious as to what your background is, okay? So there's some other problems associated with this, and we'll get into that, but I guess that's my intro. Okay, so the main idea that I want to share here is that when people ask you, what's your name, they're not actually asking you, what is the name that your parents called you when you were born? That's not what the question is. The question is actually, what should I call you? Okay? And that's actually really, really important, because if somebody is saying, hey, what's your name? But really they're saying, what should I call you? If you answer in your native tongue, okay, that's actually an unfair expectation. You can't expect them to pronounce your name in your native tongue because they don't speak your native tongue and you are the one speaking their native tongue, right? So my rule of thumb is this: when you speak a language, say your name in that language. So either say your name in the accent of that language or change your name completely so that people of that language can know what they should call you. Now, a lot of people have huge problems with this and they actually get really offended. Maybe I offended some people just now, but they say, oh my gosh, what? No, my name is my identity. This is the name that my parents gave me. This is who I am. And I honestly just kind of feel like when people say stuff like that, maybe you haven't traveled enough or at all. And I know that sounds harsh, but it's true, or maybe you haven't interacted with enough people from different cultures, because once you encounter this problem again and again and again and again and again, and people cannot say your name, that's when you realize, maybe it's not about me and my name. Maybe it's about making the other person feel comfortable and helping them know what they should call me. Plus, it's kind of cool to take on multiple identities, if you will, and have, different names for different groups of people. And we have this actually in real life already. It's like your family has nicknames for you, but at work they call you something else, and maybe at school something else. I don't know. And growing up, the same thing happened to me. At school, I had my regular name, Stephanie. My family called me Steph or Steffi. Sometimes my mom called me Steffi J, which was a combination of my first name and my middle name. My middle name is Janelle, so the J from Janelle, she would call me Steffi J. And then on my water polo teams, my teammates would call me by my last name, okay? So we actually, in real life, we have multiple names that we use, and they serve different purposes and different functions, right? Depending on the group of people that we're with, the environment that we're with, the expectations that we have, okay? So now let me tell you what my experience was like when I went to Argentina. In Argentina, they speak Spanish, right? And I can't introduce myself like, hola, me llamo Stephanie, right? I can't go from Spanish to English because people would be like, Stephanie? ¿Qué? Right? They don't say Stephanie in Spanish. That's not how they say it. In Spanish, they say Estefanía, okay, or Estef. Actually, they don't really call me Steph. Okay, they would say Estefi, right? Okay, now if I think about that in English, Estefi, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is not who I am. I am not Estefi. Like, that sounds weird. But I am Estefi in Spanish. That's who I am, and that's what my name is, because that's how it translates, and that's how it's easy for everybody to say my name. If I required everybody to say my name with my native accent, that would be confusing. And if I introduced myself all the time with my native English accent, that would be confusing as well, and that would make other people feel uncomfortable. So what I have found works for me, and what I encourage my students to do, is learn how to say your name in English. Learn how to say it with an English accent. So when people go, hey, what's your name? You can just tell them your name and move on to whatever it is that you're going to talk about, because I'm sure your name is not the most important thing that they're there to discuss, right? Now, I say this is controversial because not everybody agrees with this point of view, and my husband does not agree with this point of view. One day you guys are gonna meet Renzo on this channel. He's awesome, but I think this is hilarious because I stand by this opinion so strongly, and my own husband doesn't agree with me. My husband's like, no, this is my name, and this is how I want to introduce myself, and that's fine. If he likes introducing himself, his name, with a Spanish accent to English speakers, then he can do that. But what I've observed, because I've seen this happen so many times, and I'm just like, babe, why do you keep doing this? Like, don't you get tired of it? Basically, people say, hey, what's your name? And he goes, Renzo. And they're like, what? Renzo. And then he eventually, after saying his name a couple times, he goes, but you can call me Renzo or Ren. And they go, okay, Ren, that's great. Because that's what people are truly asking. They're not really asking what your name is. They're saying, what can I call you? Because we've been given names so that we can know what to call people around us, right? For what other people can call us. So anyhow, I have had this conversation with Ren so many times. I'm just like, babe, when you're with English speakers and they ask what your name is, just say your name is Ren. You know how to say Ren. And native English speakers do not use the r sound, okay? They can't roll their tongue very well, or at least a lot of them. And it's just awkward. And not only that, but they don't know how to perceive the sound because they're not used to hearing it. So when they hear Renzo, they're not sure what they're hearing. And automatically their brain is going like, oh my gosh, I don't understand this. I need to make sense of this. What did he just say? Okay, and people freak out and it's uncomfortable. So back when I used to do private English classes, I don't do private classes anymore. One of the first things that I would ask the students is, what's your name? So we can get to know each other. And they would almost always tell me their name in their native language. And every single time I would have to have this conversation with them where it's like, okay, what should I call you? Because I don't, one, understand your name. I don't know how to say it. I don't feel comfortable making those sounds in English. This is an English class. You're speaking with an English speaker. This is not your native tongue. So what should I call you? And then we'd have to have this whole conversation, and I would have to let them know, look, basically this entire YouTube video. That's why I'm making this YouTube video, because I've told this to so many people already that I'm like, I'll just make a video about it. But basically, if you want to have that conversation about where you're from and your name and blah, 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 and talk about that for 5 minutes, then go ahead and say your name in your native language. But if you want to just say your name and quickly move on with the conversation, then learn how to say your name in an English way, okay, using English sounds. So I will give you a quick example of this. In Spanish, if someone's name is Andrea, okay, Andrea, that's hard for an English speaker to say. I speak Spanish, so I can say it. But instead of saying, hi, my name is Andrea, okay, which is difficult for an English speaker, you could say, hi, my name is Andrea. Andrea. Instead of forcing all of the people around you to learn how to say Andrea, you can learn to say Andrea. Andrea. You can say Andrea or Andrea or Andrea or Andrea, whatever you like. Like, that's the cool part about it. You can kind of say it the way you want to say it, but you're making it easier for people around you. Now, I've rambled on and on and on about this for several minutes as if this is a new thing, but this is actually not new. And I discovered this when I had lots of students from Asia, because as you guys know, students in China, Japan, etc., the languages they speak and the sounds that they make, if you want a native English speaker to say those sounds, it's like, forget it. There's no way, okay? We can't read the language. We can't understand the sounds. So a lot of native speakers from these countries, especially professionals, they have two names. They have their English name and they have their name that they were given at birth, okay? And so when I do classes with these students and I say, what's your name? They say, oh, you can call me Jennifer, or you can call me Emily. Or my English name is Jennifer. My English name is Emily, okay? Whatever it is, that's very common and I love that because it's like, okay, boom, I can call you Emily. Great, let's move on. Let's talk about what we're here to talk about. Now, this is especially important in professional environments and a lot of professionals take on an English name if they are working with English speakers, okay? Because again, it just eliminates a barrier, right? If your name is so different and so strange in the English language that people don't know how to say it at all, that creates a barrier. And I actually have a friend who started a resume writing company. He's the CEO of the company. And I was talking to him about this one day and he said, yeah, sometimes people in HR, they get so just nervous about calling people that have weird names that they might just look at your resume and move it to the back of the list and save you for last. They might contact you last or not at all, just because they're like, I don't even know what this person's name is or how to say it, and it makes them uncomfortable, and people are gonna do what's easiest first, right? So is that fair? No, but it's the way that it is. So we have to observe these things, realize that they exist, and then just decide accordingly. If you want to be like Renzo and make everybody try to pronounce your name the way it is in your native language, you can do that, just like he does that. And if you want to take my advice and just learn how to say your name in English the way an English speaker would say it, or create a new name for yourself entirely, you can do that too. At the end of the day, all behavior creates reactions, right? And more behavior. And it's just gonna be, you're doing something and people are gonna figure out how to handle it. So as long as you're aware of what's going on in other people's minds, etc., then you can decide what is the best way for you to handle this. But again, my advice is learn how to say your name in English and or adopt an English name for yourself, just because it makes things a lot easier, right? It's like, hey, what's your name? Boom, you tell me your name. Great, let's move on with the conversation. And there's no weirdness or awkwardness or anything like that, okay? So, like I said, kind of controversial. Hopefully nobody got offended because we looked at this from all different angles. And like I said, you can do whatever you want. Okay, and with that said, I just want to let you guys know that we are working on a complete pronunciation course. And if you're interested in that, just go to the description. There's a sign up link for anybody who's interested in joining me on the beta version of this course. The beta version is going to be the first round of the course where I test everything with the students. I can only accept a small number of students in the beta version. But like I said, if you're interested, go ahead and sign up on the pre-registration list, just so you know when it's ready. I'm really excited about it. And it's gonna solve problems like this, like, knowing how to say your name in an English speaking way and stuff like that. All right, so that's it, you guys. And I hope you learned something in this video. Let me know what you think, what your opinion is down in the comments. And if you want, tell us your name, right? So we can see, is this a strange name? Would we have problems pronouncing this in English or not? There was one time, you guys, I kid you not, I got an email from somebody named Harsh. I may even have to beep out that name on the audio because sometimes YouTube doesn't like when we cuss, and there is a cuss word in that name. It's hard, okay? Now for an English speaker, that is strange, right? I wouldn't want to go around introducing myself as, hi, my name is hard, right? And I mean, no offense, absolutely no offense to anybody with that name or anything like that. It's just that a word in one language might mean something completely different in another language, and we need to be aware of that and sensitive to it because it can create a lot of embarrassment for people, a lot of issues. And see, now I need to stop this video because I'm going on and on and on. There's so much I could say about this. Anyways, I hope you guys get my point. Let me know what you think in the comments. And yeah, I hope this helps. Take care.